was to start an indoor propagation station. And so there's a few things that we did in order to get ready to grow food indoors. So because we're utilizing a downstairs basement room that doesn't get a lot of lights, we're using grow lights and grow bulbs and grow lamps, all of which are available at garden centers or online. And these are on 24 hours a day. They encourage growth because they're just giving the plants tons of light. If you don't have a room that's dark and you want to try and propagate in a room with natural light, you'll probably get much success. But because we're using a basement room, we've decided to go with the grow lights. Another thing that we've done is we started all of these from seed. So when they're started from seed, we used a grow tray, which is perfectly designed to allow for perfect drainage of water so that we don't overwhelm our plants with watering. But eventually they outgrow these little grow trays. And to utilize waste in our kitchen, we've taken salad containers, berry containers, mushroom containers, and we're transferring those seedlings into those containers with organic soil because we plan to use this food to eat. But don't feel left out if you don't have a lot of space. I'll show you how to maximize even a small kitchen windowsill to grow your own food inside. So regardless of whether you have a lot of space or a little bit of space, you can grow food inside. You can utilize things that we would consider kitchen waste to grow new food. So foods like scallions, leeks, onions, romaine, celery, even herbs on your windowsill are perfect to grow inside. So you want to make sure that when you are propagating inside, that you always do it in clean, fresh water. You want to change this water every single day and give the roots a little bit of a rinse, or else they'll start to get a little moldy and a little smelly, and you want no part of that. Now with the scallions, I'm just going to cut the tips off and use them in soups, salads, pretty much anywhere. But with the romaine, when the weather permits, I'm going to transfer this to organic soil and plant it outside in my garden. But not everything that we're growing from scratch is meant to eat. We're also propagating this beautiful little avocado seed into a plant. So you propagate it in water like you would with the other stuff. And then once you start to see a little stem and root grow, you're going to see it pop right out of there, and then you're going to plant it into soil, and you'll have a beautiful avocado plant at the end of it. So whether you have a ton of space, whether your cup runneth over with space, or whether you just have a windowsill, you too can grow food inside.
Please welcome Bianca Osbourne. Hello.
Hello. Welcome to my
I think
COVID
isolation's
kitchen.
treating you well.
It is treating me well.
Nice
You know, all
kitchen.
things considered. Oh, thank you. We love the brick around here. It photographs excellently, as you can tell. But we have been, you know, just staying in, doing TikTok dances, making recipes, saving our food waste, you know, just trying to like make the most of a time that's like, you know, not necessarily so great.
Sure. Yeah, I want to talk to you about this thing that you're doing, reducing food waste. Where do we want to begin? Something about coffee grounds.
Yeah, so the thing about coffee grounds, get in on this. So the thing about coffee grounds is a lot of times when we brew our coffee, we just throw out the remaining coffee grounds. But a lot of times you can use a lot of foods that we consider waste in our kitchens and other ways, not just for food. So if you dry out your coffee grounds just on like a piece of paper towel like this, you can use it as a fridge deodorizer. And because baking supplies are in short order these days, save your baking soda for your baking recipes and use your coffee grounds for your fridge deodorizer. But there's one thing that you need to remember is that they need to be dry or else they'll get moldy, and you don't want that.
Okay. One of my favorite things is pickle. I like the pickle, but what do you do with the pickle juice?
Marilyn, you're my Breggie. We are together. We are sisters in our love of pickle juice. So the thing about pickle juice and pickles is a lot of people, when the pickle is done, they just toss the pickle juice. They throw it down the drain, but it's like throwing liquid gold down your drain system. Do not do it. So you can use pickle juice in place of citrus, vinegar in marinades, salad dressings. You can even use it as a brine, which is what we're going to use for one of our recipes today. So you just take the pickle juice and pour it over something like chicken, and that's going to tenderize it, make it more moist, make it more delicious, and also just like bake in a lot of flavor. It's really amazing.
Do you marinate it for a long time, or what's your recommendation on that?
You can honestly marinate it for like up to 3 to 4 hours. If you're like putting it in fresh like this would be my suggestion. And then just like dry it off and cook with it within the day. But it acts like a vinegar. So if you wouldn't marinate something overnight, so I wouldn't put something in pickle juice overnight. So just like a few hours. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to tell you, the way I cook chicken is the way that you taught me how to cook chicken. It has never tasted better, and we'll have to talk about that one day. So now I'm going to use the pickle juice, Bianca. Delicious.
Yes, I love hearing that.
Herb stems. Herb stems. What are you going to tell us about that?
So the thing about herb stems is most people just concern themselves with the herb leaf, and the stem, it makes up over 50% of what you buy, and often the leaf goes bad so quickly. But the stem has tons of juice, tons of freshness, tons of the exact same flavor. So you can chop it up, you can put it into salads, you can put it into soups, you can use it as a garnish, you can just really use it anywhere. And something like mint, for instance, you can take these stems and put it in a smoothie or juice it, and it will give you a lot of juice and will also give you a lot of flavor. So it's like, again, if you're like throwing this out, throwing a lot of the leaves out, or if the leaves go bad and you're thinking, oh, I just have to throw it out now. No, just pull off the slimy leaves, give it a rinse, and then save the stems. They'll last much longer.
Oh, okay, that's good. Now, what about broccoli? Our friends, the broccoli.
Broccoli, baby trees. So broccoli, I mean, it gets a bad rep for a number and a myriad of reasons. But the thing about broccoli is, again, people only concern themselves with the florets. And as great as these are for roasting, sauteing, dipping in all kinds of dips, this is also something that's like pretty precious and delicious too. So with this broccoli stem, all you want to do is just like peel off the woody outer layers, just like that.
Okay.
And what you'll get is you'll start to see like tender stems start to like really present itself. Yeah. And then you just cut that up and you can use it in bright green, exactly. And you can use it fresh like this in salads, again, in soups. You can shred it, you can saute it. It's really like delicious. And again, it goes a long way to reducing our food waste, because I think a lot of us, because we're home cooking a lot more now, we're seeing that a lot of like the food that we waste, and we're just like putting so much into the green bin, so much into the garbage. And this is a way that we can minimize some of that.
You've got to make that slaw. We're going to take a break, and we're going to take that broccoli and make into a great slaw courtesy of Bianca Osbourne when we come back. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Chef Bianca Osbourne, and before the break, you showed us some food hacks to cut down on waste. And you're right, because when we're at home, we see that green bin really filling up. So thanks for those hacks. Now you're making chicken with broccoli slaw. Tell us how to do that.
Yes. So again, we talked about the broccoli stems being really amazing and great in recipes. So you're just going to shave the broccoli like that, the stems, just like so. And we have our chicken brining. And one of the suggestions I give to people all the time when you're getting into the kitchen is, one, read your recipes all the way through and preheat your oven as soon as you get into the kitchen. Put your pan on the heat as soon as you get into the kitchen, because then everything is ready and hot. And then as a recipe is directing, it will come out exactly that way. Like if you put something in a not hot oven or in a not hot pan, it's going to have a different result.
Yeah. Yeah.
And another thing, too, is if you are a composter and you're like someone who doesn't want to be a Calamity Jane in the kitchen, always have a little bit of like a trash bowl next to you. And it will, it's just like keeps everything clean and neat. Just a little tip.
Yeah, good idea.
So join me at the stove, will you? And so we have our pan heating. You're welcome, me at the stove. And we're just going to put our chicken in the pan just like that.
That was marinating in the pickle juice.
That was in the pickle juice. And we don't actually need to season this right away. Instead, we're going to let it cook. We're going to flip it, and then we're going to put it in the oven. And right before we put it in the oven, that's when we're going to season it. So we're back to our broccoli. And so there's a couple ways that you can do this. And so again, it never has anyone ever said the florets go into the discard bowl, but in this case, they do. And then we're just going to chop the broccoli. And always when you're chopping something round, give yourself a flat surface by just chopping a piece like that. Like this. And then you just want to chop into like little fine little pieces like that. And this is home cooking,
really
so
good,
it
sharp
doesn't
knife.
have to be. Oh yes, and it doesn't have to be perfect. That's the thing about when you're cooking at home during these times. It just has to be flavorful and hit you right in the like feels on the flavor. Pretty is for later. So then we put the broccoli into our bowl. And in our bowl, we have already some grapeseed oil, we have some dark sesame oil, and we have a little bit of lemon juice. We're going to add some lemon zest. And what I like about putting these broccoli stems in here, Marilyn, is that they hold up really well over time. So even if you don't get to the salad right away, or you put it in the fridge for like 2 days, when you come back to it, it'll have all of its flavor integrity. And again, just chopping some of our red pepper into it. And this salad is so fresh because everything has lots of like liquid in it. And with these, again, with these peppers, you can take these seeds and you can plant them in soil. And boom, you have yourself a nice, cute little pepper plant. Put those
Are you a big gardener?
I'm going to be this year. I have one of my roommates is like has the greenest thumb, and so she's really giving us a lot of lessons. And then we're just going to chop in our peppers, and peppers are optional. If you don't like spice, don't have spice. And then with our grater that we got our lemon zest, we're just going to grate in some garlic. We're going to add a little bit more lime juice.
This looks colorful
like that.
And it's got a bite to it, which is great.
Oh, yeah. And it's perfect accompaniment to the chicken that we're making because it's just like really fresh, really flavorful. It cuts through some of like, you know, the fattiness maybe if you have like a fattier cut of meat. And then so we have here our cilantro leaves, and we're just going to use the stems. Just like that. And you would cut it like you would cut a chive, Marilyn. So people are wondering, like, how do I use it? Just use it how you would a chive, like that.
Okay.
And then
that's great.
Season it with salt and pepper. A little bit of sesame seeds. And you actually want to refrigerate the salad for about an hour, just to let everything kind of sink in. And then with our chicken, if you're following me back to the stove, you give it a flip, and then you just fire it right into a hot oven, just like that, and it'll finish cooking all on its own. And so the finished product, because I've learned so much from the Food Stylist at the Marilyn Denis show, is going to look like this. So, pardon my hands, but I mean, no one else is eating it but me.
That's okay. It's your house. You can do whatever you want.
Exactly. That's like how I'm living these days. Anything that's like kind of gauche, I'm just like, meh, it's a pandemic. I'm doing what I want. I'm living. And then you just put it next to
Now, let me ask you this. When you put the chicken
like
back into the oven, what was the temperature on the oven, and how long do you keep the chicken in?
The temperature on the oven is about 410, and I put the chicken in for about 12 minutes. Again, the reason that I love chicken thigh is that it's so forgiving as far as like cooking, overcooking is concerned. Like if this was breast, it would be really like particular about the time. Now I know that you are not a cilantro lover, Marilyn, so you could substitute mint, you could substitute chives, basil, parsley. I mean, dealer's choice. But then you just do want to take a few of the stems or a few of the leaves of your herbs and just adorn it prettily like that. And then that's like...
When you put... That's gorgeous. The slaw, when you put the slaw in the refrigerator, that's all the liquids will kind of macerate. Is that right?
They will. And then what you want to do always with a salad like this, if you leave it in the fridge, before you serve it, just give it another toss again. And feel free every time you use this to add like big pieces of herbs or lettuce, because what that's going to do, it'll change the flavor of a base. You can use this as a base and then just add different herbs and spices and like leaves and lettuces, and it can just make something that seems samesies completely different.
Bianca, great hacks and a great meal. I love it. I love the slaw and I love the chicken. I hope you stay safe, and I hope I get to see you real soon again.
You too, Marilyn. I miss you. Virtual hug. Can't wait to see you in person.
A virtual hug to you. All right, everybody, we have to take a break. We'll be right back.
Bye.